In the heart of Namibia, on the edge of a vast savanna where sand meets sparse acacia trees, lived Hendrik, an old ranger, a veteran of the Etosha Game Reserve. He was in his 60s, but he continued to patrol the area in his battered jeep, as if he felt he had not yet accomplished all he had to do. Hendrik knew the local trails and animals like family. He was one of the last to remember the names of all the elephants, lions and rhinos he had protected for decades. But the one he remembered most was an old leopardess named Nara, appearing closer to the evening hours on the edge of the rocky plateau. He had watched her since she was a teenager. Now, as the fur on her muzzle began to silver and her gait became as careful as an old woman's, Hendrik felt a special affection for her. This morning began as usual. He drank strong coffee in his cabin, adjusted his hat, and set out at dawn. The day was hot, and the sun spared neither man nor beast. Toward noon, the radio went dead, and the signal from the towers was intermittent. He knew he would be alone today. Around 5 p.m., he turned toward an old reservoir, where leopards often appeared toward sunset. But instead of the tranquil landscape, he noticed restlessness in the zebras and antelopes scampering nearby. Instinct told him something was wrong. As he stopped by the water, he saw Nara. She was lying on her side, and her breathing was heavy. Suddenly, Hendrik realized there were the remains of a metal prong sticking out of her shoulder. A trap, forbidden, cruel, perhaps left by poachers who had slipped into the reserve at night. Hendrik let out a curse. He knew time was running out in minutes. Nara was a predator, proud and dangerous, even in her weakened state. But he didn't hesitate. Putting on thick gloves, he approached her from the side of her back, spoke softly, in Afrikaans. "Hush, old one. It's me. Don't move." He saw her eyes. There was pain in them, but not fear. He crouched beside her, examined the wound. The metal had cut deep. The blood was starting to cure. The leopard could die not only from pain, but from infection. He pulled the first aid kit out of the car first, then the hacksaw. The trap wouldn't budge. He worked slowly but precisely, stopping every few seconds to give Nara time to catch her breath. Dust lay on her fur. The wind moved the grass, and the sun was slipping toward dusk. When the snare gave way, he carefully removed it and began to treat the wound. Nara breathed heavily, but did not growl. She let him do his thing. Hendrik knew she wouldn't survive in the wild with such an injury without care. So he threw a thick cloth over her, tied up a makeshift stretcher, and spent nearly an hour getting her into the back of the jeep. Night descended rapidly. The roads became dangerous, but he drove carefully, always looking in the mirror for the raptor. He brought her to the veterinary station, where one of the young veterinarians, Dr. Caleb, helped administer anesthesia and stitch up the wound. All the while, Hendrik never left her side. 2 days passed. Hendrik came to Nara every day, sat by her cage, and quietly told her how in their childhood he had once saved a hippopotamus from a mud trap, how he had watched the migration of the gnu, and how he himself had once been lost for 3 days in the pouring rain. He spoke and she listened, though she seemed to be asleep. On the 3rd day, she opened her eyes and lifted her head. Her gaze was focused on him. He smiled, seeing recognition in them. "That's it, old girl," he whispered. "You'll run again." She was treated for a long time, almost a month, but she recovered, and one day when the gates of the center were open, Nara left the cage, looked back at Hendrik one last time, and walked away toward the grove of acacia trees. Many more weeks passed. The rangers saw her on the rocks again, hunting and looking healthy. But every time Hendrik's old jeep showed up at the reservoir, Nara stepped out of the shadows, watched, and disappeared. At sunset, as the sun colored the savanna in shades of purple, Hendrik sat on the hood of his car, a thermos of cold coffee in his hands. He knew he wouldn't be here forever, but he felt that he had once done something important, given the wild beast back its dignity and freedom. The bottom line of this story is simple but important. Even one man, tired, aged, without command and loud words, can do a great thing, save a wild animal, preserve the balance of nature, prove that compassion does not die with age. Old Ranger Emil was a reminder to us. As long as there are those who hear the voice of the land, this planet still has a chance. If you enjoyed this story, send a like, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell. There are more heartwarming stories of nature, people, and their fight for life to come.